Hello, folks. Dominic Crea here. I've been promising a closeout episode, and I felt like doing it today, so I figured why not. It's been a while. I hope everybody who follows my channels is doing well. And I just wanted to, I guess, give some final thoughts, some updates, and just fill in the audience on the topics that I deal with and the topics I've discussed, and keep everybody in the loop for future. Unfortunately, as people who do follow my page know, my father, Christopher Londonio, Terrence Caldwell, and Matty Madonna were denied the appeal. They lost the appeal, unfortunately, which, again, folks, and I'll get into that. One thing I learned is that, I was a little naive where I would think, okay, the law is the law. I understand people could get indicted. You could indict a ham sandwich. I understand all that. But I really did believe when you get to the levels of the appellate court, it was more based on law and not based so much on bias. And I felt if you proved that laws were not followed properly and that errors were made and that the due process was not followed to the letter of the law, that you would be entitled to a new trial, especially with major issues, which we've proven. And I guess what shocked me the most, in the sense, is that while this was going on and throughout the 8 years of this whole case and the whole saga, I spoke to many people, many intelligent people. I spoke to many law professors, a lot of obviously a lot of attorneys, a lot of people who are in the legal field. And when I would just show them the facts of the case, what's going on, the appeal issues, not one of them actually told me it was a weak appeal or we were off base or you're grasping at straws. As a matter of fact, to the contrary, many would tell me, and some high-powered appellate attorneys would tell me, if you're going to win an appeal, this is the appeal you win. So I was a bit disheartened by the decision because I did have that kind of hope. Again, I guess I was a little naive in that, but one thing it did show me is that it's very hard to win when you have such a strong bias. When they believe, well, you may not be guilty of this, you're guilty of something, it seems like there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle and people involved that'll make sure a conviction stands. And I feel personally that's what happened. People could disagree and say, oh, no, you lost. Hey, listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But again, for me, it's very black and white. If you're saying the law is X, Y, and Z, and you're proving that X, Y, and Z did not take place, but rather A, B, and C did, one would think, okay, well, that's an error. That's a reason for a new trial. That's not the case. I mean, I wasn't even expecting an acquittal. I was just expecting a new trial for it to be played out the proper way. I just dropped something on the floor. Sorry about that. But that didn't happen. It just didn't happen. The appellate court just went along with, I guess, whatever they felt. In my opinion, to be totally blunt, I just felt they either got calls from higher ups or they themselves were like, listen, we're not letting this guy out. We don't care how good the appeal is. We don't care how many errors were made. And even if you look at, and I'll eventually post it on wepushback.com, their decision on the appeal, you could even see they didn't really cite anything solid. They didn't cite any rational reason, or it was mostly chalked up to harmless errors. And when you're playing with four individuals' lives, I don't know how something could be classified as a harmless error. If it prevents them from getting a fair trial, I would classify that as a serious error, not harmless. It seems as though that's the lingo they use a lot in the court system. When an error is made, they'll say harmless error. And my question to that is, well, who's classifying it as harmless? Are you classifying it as harmless? Why is it considered harmless error? And you have to accept that as an answer. They don't elaborate on it. They don't define it more thoroughly. They just pass it off as harmless error and move on. And I believe that's where I was naive, thinking that as long as you have everything in order, as long as you could prove it, as long as you document it, as long as you show what took place, you show the discrepancies, you show how it's in contrast to what the law says, that you would get a win. And that's just not how it works. But that's life. And one thing I did learn is how strong both mentally and physically my dad is. And I've never been more proud to be his son than in these type moments. Uh, Even when I seen him a couple days ago, and obviously we told him the news before that, but he was in good spirits. He actually looked very strong and very healthy, which, to be honest, I was a little concerned about. As people are aware, he has serious medical issues, but there's no signs of that. He's on immunotherapy, and it seems like it's doing wonders. His color looked great. His weight looked great. Again, he looked strong. My old man's like a tank. He looked great. And unfortunately or fortunately, he really wasn't surprised by it. He told me he wasn't expecting it. He knew how good it was, but he also knew the vendetta that they had for him. So he really didn't flinch about it. And the way my family is, we just kind of accept life. We accept what's thrown at us, and we try to make the best of it. And that's what you do now. You make the best of the situation. You keep fighting the best we can. I mean, our options are long shots. I'm not going to be delusional, going to the Supreme Court, which we're going to try, a few other things we're going to try, but they're long shots. But it's not in my nature to just stop and give up and be quiet. It's just not in my nature. So we keep exhausting things until we can't any longer. And those are the routes we're going to take. But the bottom line is life changes, and you have to shift with the change. Now you make a life in this regard. You make a life about visiting. You make a life about the relationship. Things like that. That's what you have to try to focus on. Just enjoying what you can when you can. Everybody has different things going on in their life. Everybody has suffering they deal with. Everybody has unfortunate situations that they're hit with. And that's just life. That's just how it goes. You got to either adapt to it or curl up in a ball and cry about it and complain about it. That's not in my DNA. That's not in my pop's DNA. We just keep moving forward. And that's all you could do. And on that note, he did say to me that he gets a lot of letters. He actually showed me a bunch. He gets a ton of letters. And some of those letters are from viewers and listeners. Well, listeners, I guess, sometimes viewers when I do some animatronics on the show, or I go on another podcast like Joey Merlino's podcast. But usually for the listeners, a lot of them actually sent letters, and he just wanted me to. My dad's not the type to write back. He don't write letters and stuff. But he did want me to convey that it is appreciated. He reads them all, and he appreciates just reading what you guys have to write. And I also thank you, and my family thanks you. It's very kind. Just to write a letter. I do appreciate that. But, we move on. This is life, folks, and I'm going to still keep doing my thing as far as we push back. I have a lot of things in the real world that I'm working on, certain alliances and certain sponsorships and things just to, again, all we push back is about, it's just really information. It's an informational hub. I don't make any money on it. I don't charge anybody for anything they ask on it. It's not what it's about. It's just about, especially now, the way I look at it, it's really just about trying to help future defendants perhaps get a fair trial. And I think I said this on my first episode, but I always felt the only shot you have is by having an educated jury. I don't want a jury that's in our favor, not in our favor, whatever that is. That's not what I'm saying. Just you want an educated juror who could be fair and not biased and does go by the law. Because once it gets past the jurors, that's where you're kind of tied into the system. You're wrapped up. So the best shot I believe defendants have is when they have a panel of jurors who are really going to analyze the case on a fair level and not just assume somebody's guilty because of alleged titles and all that nonsense. They're just going to go by the letter of the law and apply it to whether the person is guilty or not guilty. So that's the small part I'm going to keep doing, and I think it's very important to really just keep putting all these informants on Front Street, and nothing's going to stop me from doing that. I have a ton of paperwork that I have to update the WePushBack.com website with. There's going to be different informants added to it. I have a few attorneys that have sent me some packets of information they want related to informants that may be affecting their clients. Has to do with transcripts, similar to what I did with a lot of the informants I covered. They're asking me to do it for them. And what's been happening a lot, which is great, is I'm not putting a lot of information up yet because I've been asked by different counsel to not release it yet. They're going to use it for their paperwork, for preparing for trial, court, whatever it may be. So as those things play out, more and more of the database will be enriched and will be enhanced. And my vision for it is it just will always be on there, just a static domain. I'll always keep renewing the domain. I'll make updates here and there and just keep feeding it and populating it. When I came on YouTube, it was really just to almost introduce it. And the concept was spawned from YouTube. So without me having my Justice Tech Pros podcast, it probably never would have even happened. So being it was spawned on YouTube, I got the word out using that media source. And also with some Instagram, Twitter, and things like that, just using social media just to bring awareness to it so people check it out. Whether they like it or hate it, if they click on it and they read a little bit, hey, it's a win for me because at least they know what it's about. They may say it's ridiculous, I don't want to read it, ain't nothing I can do about that. But for the few people that maybe find it valuable and the defendants who may find it valuable and the family members, it's always going to be a source that can be utilized to help earn a fair trial and to show the jurors what really goes on with these informants. Because as we all know, when they go on the stand, the person on the stand is not the real person in reality. And you could just watch their podcast, listen to it, go to wepushback.com, see all the clips of how they really behave and how they really act. And that's the point I look to drive home. I want people to see when you lift the curtain of the government where they're trying to paint these individuals as choir boys, I want the public to second guess that a little bit and say, well, wait a minute, I've seen all these informants act this way, threaten this guy, talk tough here. I just want them to see that behavior and also to see all the inconsistencies. It's one thing for me to say, oh, this guy's lying, but now you show paperwork and you support that. That's a different story. Now people could say, all right, obviously Dominic's not going to like informants, but the paperwork stands for itself. My opinion on informants is irrelevant. I've always said that. Doesn't matter if I like them, don't like them. Obviously, I don't like them. I have nothing to do with them. I won't engage with them. So much so that I'm kind of on an island in a lot of ways because I notice other creators who say they don't like them, they would have them in their chats, they'd talk with them on their phone, they would hang out with the enablers who actually put them on the screen, gave them airtime. So I have a whole different guide. When I say I don't like something or I don't like an informant, I have a whole different system on how I gauge that than probably 99% of the people that I've seen on YouTube. In real life, everybody, my friends, family, they're all on the same page. On YouTube, it's a little different. We all see people that say, oh, I don't like informants, but their behavior, their actions, it all dictates totally differently. And that's fine. Listen, I'm not the, whether you like informants or not police, I couldn't care. It doesn't affect my life. But that just tells me that there's a very, very small percentage who feel the way I do to such a degree where my actions align with my words. And one thing I did notice is you get a lot of these podcasters. There's one little guy, he did like a little person boxing match. He has a podcast. He was with Barstools, and I think he left. I won't even give him the recognition by saying his dopey name. But he always makes these comments, and this is a running narrative. People have been saying this. I've been on YouTube like 5-6 years, and people are always saying, oh, Dominic's paying trolls, paying this. Okay, number one, these people are lucky I'm not a sewer because that's outright slander on my reputation, and I'd like them to prove it. And I was actually hoping I would get sued, to be honest with you, just so I could countersue and just so I could expose what they've been doing. I'd want to get all their records. I'd want to subpoena whatever I could, and then would see who's paying who and who's talking to who. I know what I've done. And I've known since day one, I've never paid anybody to do anything. I've never asked anybody to do anything. But now take a step back. Don't even believe me for a minute, okay? Those who follow YouTube and they see relationships, look at all of these people who turn on each other. They hate each other. One day they're buddies, one day they're not. You don't think in all these times one of these supposed trolls would have came forward and said, look, Dominic paid me X amount and this is what he told me to do. Come on, use your common sense. It's been 5, almost 6 years. You're telling me not one person would have done that if I paid them to do or say anything? They would love to do it. They would love to do that if that was the case. So again, use your common sense. I would suggest stop slandering with the nonsense. And if you're going to keep saying stuff, at least show proof to back it up, because you look moronic with your claims. Just because you can't handle people on the internet abusing you and you're looking for a scapegoat, I understand you want to engage me to get me as your scapegoat so you get ratings and you could have headlines and all that BS and act like a war's going on. I know other creators will entertain you. They'll put you on their show and they'll fight with you. You're not worth my time to even engage. The only way you're worth my time is, like I said, you come to my office, you say what you got to say face to face, or if I run into you by chance, then you could say whatever you got to say and then we'll deal with it that way. But again, with all the BS, he pays this one, pays that, use your common sense, folks. And all this time, all of these people who flip-flop, they loved each other one day, they hate each other another day. They'll never go on a show this day, they're on the show the next day. Think about it. All that time, not one person came forward, showed a screenshot, anything that shows me telling them to attack somebody or to do something. Again, common sense. It's all for their narrative. And listen, hey, it happens in the legal system. People make up lies, and then you got to prove your innocence. Same thing on YouTube. It's just not that serious. It's nonsense on YouTube, so I don't lose any sleep about it. I just find it more amazing how many people bring me up when I don't even acknowledge them. They're not even a thought in my head, whether they're good, not good, bad, not good, whether they're on YouTube or I don't even care. They're not even somebody that enters my thought process. So if I wasn't sent clips of people, again, bringing my name up, I wouldn't even know these things existed. They're not in any universe of mine any ounce of importance. But to them, I guess I'm more important because they always got to bring me up, especially the little person, ex-celebrity boxer. I guess to him it's important. Again, all baseless, all meaningless, no proof, just accusations. In 5-6 years, not 1 ounce of proof to any of those nonsense claims. And the other thing I see, or I should say I hear a lot, is people who make comments like, this one's tied to We Push Back and this one's associated with We Push Back. I don't know how many times I got to say it for the people who lack the intelligence. There's nobody associated with We Push Back, number one, only myself. It's a website. It's an inanimate object that sits on the interweb. That's all it is. It's a domain. So there's no association. It's basically telling people to go to wepushback.com and read the information. That's it, folks. And those who align with it, they like to get the message out about it. They like to bring people to the website. And for that, I'm forever grateful and forever appreciative. They mention it, and it brings people there. Even those who hate it, the informants, when they bring it up, it only helps me. It brings people there. Again, I don't care why they're there. Just read the information. That's all I want you to do. So they're doing half the job for me because they're getting people to the website. And that was my goal for putting it out on YouTube and putting it out on social media, just to get the people to go there, just to also have a higher rating in the algorithm on Google, on YouTube, or whatever source it may be. So it just brings an audience. It brings potential future jurors. That's the goal. So the good and the bad all help do that. It all accomplishes it. And those who continue to spotlight these informants, don't give up on that. It's very important. And hopefully it just continues and grows and grows. And more family members like myself who've been through it and believe the way I believe and have a strong stance on the informants. Not the one who said this one's good, this one's bad. I'm talking the ones that truly believe. Hopefully they start getting more of a presence. I've said this in the past. A few of my friends who've been affected by it, they're not too crazy about talking and doing shows, but they've been thinking about doing something similar. And today, folks, I apologize for no visuals. I wanted to go old school today and do it more like a radio show. So, especially it was my farewell show. I just didn't feel like setting up for that. I just wanted to turn the mic on. So I figured, you know what? We'll make it like a radio show today. People could just listen. They don't got to look at anything. And I just, again, I find it all very amusing how people operate when they're getting attacked. They want to have somebody to blame. And okay, blame the right person though. Have some proof to back it up. Don't have all these suspicions and all that. Have some proof to back it up. Number one, to me personally, I'm not the type to tell anybody to do something on my behalf. That's a coward to me. I know other people do things like that. I don't. To me, that's a coward. I don't need anybody to fight my battles. I don't need anybody to say things I want to say. I say them directly, whether they're good, bad, indifferent. I say what I got to say. So that's a moral, a character flaw, in my opinion, if you have to do that. So it's actually insulting to even think for somebody to even say that on the level that, well, what kind of character is that? What kind of punk does that? They got to pay people to say things they got to say. They got to pay people to attack people. That's a coward. But again, they'll keep saying it. And the other thing they do, going back to, oh, the we push back, they're associated with we push back. But I've noticed some of the people, they say, oh, this one's associated with we push back. These people never hashtag we push back, never bring up the website, never comment on my page. So how do they have anything to do with we push back? They're not even supporters. I almost feel like they use that just to make it look like, again, oh, look what Dominic, the type of people Dominic has. And again, like their opinion means something to me. And that's what I find most amazing. People on YouTube think their opinion matters. I'm very accountable and realistic. I know my opinion don't matter. I don't try to force it on anybody. It's one person's opinion. But everybody else on YouTube, they think, well, don't associate with this one. You should associate with that one. You're no good because you like that one. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Who made you the moral authority on who's good, who's not? I couldn't care who you associate with. I don't care what you do. Why are you so concerned what I do? That's what I find amazing. And you know what the bottom line is? Too much time on their hand, folks. Too much time. This is a lot of their like income source, which I don't know. If I was in my 40s and this was my income source, I think I would have failed in life. But that's neither here nor there. But they rely on this. This is their sole income, so they do whatever they can to drive that income by bringing these conspiracies, attacking somebody they think they could get play out of. And a lot of these creators fall for it. They'll engage with them. They'll fight with them. Never-ending fights, 3-year fights with the same people going back. It's comical. I don't take part in the circus. I do things in real life. I've extended many invitations to many of the clowns who had a lot to say to come say those things directly. Come vent whatever you got to vent. Nobody's taken me up on it yet. I'm hopeful maybe one day they will. And then they could get all that aggression out, all that anger out, all their tough guy talk out, all their insults out. But they're not going to do that. I'll tell you what they're going to do. The few that will listen to this, they'll do their show and they'll try to engage and have a fight. But this is my closeout show. The only other shows I'll be doing, me and Joey were talking when I feel like it and I have the head for it. I'm going to go on his show, talk about a few things, and I'll do that every now and again. If there's things I want to talk about, I'll go and do it on his show. And maybe once in a while, I'll put something on one of my channels. But I feel I've done everything I wanted to do here as far as bring the media attention to it. And I just mean social, obviously social media. It's a small little thing. It's not like this huge attention campaign that I put out. It was just to get We Push Back on the map. And now I got to do things on my end to keep it on the map through advertising, through promotion in the real world, just to get people to the site and just to keep populating the site and really educating jurors. That's always been the focus and always will be the focus. And I do want to thank every single supporter who followed me from day one, who enjoyed the material. I want to thank all the creators who hashtag We Push Back and put out content relating to these lying informants because it is important. Without you guys keeping it going, it'll die out of the algorithm. So it's good to, whoever does it, it's good to have it out there, good to talk about it, and maybe another generation will pick it up and keep going, and it'll kind of be a evergreen type thing. The informants will have their podcast, and those who support We Push Back will have their rebuttal podcast, their rebuttal shows, their rebuttal shorts. And on the grand scale of it, it'll bring people to the website. And whether good or bad, as I said before, whether the informants are abusing it or hosts are abusing it who do these ridiculous mob shows, good or bad, it'll at least get people to the website to look at it and say, what's this? And then what they choose to do with that information's on them. I'm just hoping even if I get 10% of those people who take it to a level where they want to learn more about it and they want to be more prepared as a juror, that's a win for me. So I'm happy with how it plays out either way. Everything I wanted to lay out, everything I wanted to accomplish in this regard, I have. And now I move on to the next phase. And the next phase is really just enhancing the website with information. That's number one. And I'm trying to just, my time, I just don't have the time. I normally would do a lot of it directly because I used to like to proofread things, get it up. But I'm going to have to give up that control if I want to make sure it keeps getting populated. So I will probably hire somebody independently or have somebody in my office handling it. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. And those are really the main things I wanted to kind of discuss in the closeout show. I wanted to just explain how the evolution of We Push Back on YouTube was to bring exposure to the concept. And that's exactly what it's done. I've seen shows that I never even heard of mention it, good and bad. Not always good, good and bad. And to me, that's a win. It makes people just say, well, what the hell is We Push Back? They'll look it up, they'll go to the website, and then they'll go through the information. And I also want to make sure people understand that the general public should really realize when the government has a target, in this case, my old man was their target, you just have to look at the tactics they implement to really get that target. And they don't care about guilt or innocent on the crimes they're being charged with. They look at it like, well, this guy must be guilty of something, so it justifies the conviction. That's how they justify it in their head. Whether it's right or wrong, it's not right or wrong by the law, so they can think what they want. But if they're supposed to be these legal eagles who believe in the law and follow the letter of the law, you're not supposed to be able to do that, right? But they can do that. I always think of that Cohen quote from the famous attorney, Roy Cohen. It's not, what does he say? Don't tell me the law, tell me the judge. And that's such a perfect way of putting it, because it's really not about the law when it comes to the end of the day. And I learned that the hard way. I'll say it again. I was naive. I thought if you had the law on your side, they couldn't get around that on the appeal level. I understand they could get around it on the district level because the judge does run the courtroom. The judge is able to guide the verdict the way they want it to go. I've seen it play out. But I thought when it got to a higher level, you'd get more fair individuals, those who hold the law dearly and those who go by the letter of the law. Again, lesson learned. But this is life. Things like this, they don't break my family. They don't, all they do is create a big inconvenience and a hardship. But we keep moving on. We keep moving on. My old man didn't skip a beat. He's in his routine. Again, thankfully, knock on wood, he looks great, he looks healthy, and that's all I really care about. And life goes on. You make the best of the situation, and you live life to the best you can, and focus on the relationships that are important to you. And that's what's amazing to me with a lot of these people on YouTube. They sit on here day in, day out, and all I think about, like, what are they doing with their family? I don't know. I don't get it. Like friends in real life, family in real life, all their time is on YouTube, attacking people, going, I don't get it. I can't relate to it. And these channels could try to drag me in time and again, try to put We Push Back in their titles, my name in their titles, all that. But the bottom line is a lot of them are very lucky I'm not a sewer, as I said, because what they say is slander, no matter how you cut it and paste it. And whenever I'm sent a clip, I save it, I house it, because I'm hoping, I truly am hoping one day somebody from here tries to hit me with a lawsuit thinking that I'm paying somebody to do something. I pray for that day to come. I truly do. And then I'm going to be able to show the slander they committed. There's not one clip of me slandering anybody. Everything I say is fact. And if it isn't fact, I'm going to give my opinion on what an idiot they are, like that little guy, that little person. The guy's a complete moron. He's a dope. That's my opinion. I think he's a dope. And obviously he don't like me because he can't keep my name out of his mouth. And again, this is the same guy. Oh, here's funny. This is the same guy like 3-4 years ago. I still probably have the tweet asking me to go on his show. Like I would go on that clown show. Like I would go on any of those type of shows, those stupid mob shows. Imagine that's your life. You come on here and you do stories about guys who are supposedly in the mob. That's like what you put on your resume. Oh, what do you do? I'm a mob guy, a mob podcast guy. What do they call themselves? Like mobologists, right? They made up that word just to sound a little more important than they are. Mobologist. Okay, buddy. All right. Hope you're building a good life for yourself with that kind of business model. But it's a joke. Again, it's ridiculous. I don't entertain it. I don't engage it. I don't do shows about it. I don't invite these clowns on my show. I wouldn't go on their show. The only way they could talk to me is in person. That's the only way I'll talk to any of them. In person, I'll talk to whoever you want to talk to, no problem. Going back and forth like the tough guy on the computer, that's not for me. If that makes you a tough guy, then I'm not a tough guy because I don't go back and forth on computers. I don't engage that way. I can't relate to that behavior, especially in grown men. Maybe teenagers, I could see it, but in grown men, are you kidding me? Aren't you supposed to be taking care of your family? Aren't you supposed to be providing for your kids or your wife or your girl if you're not married, or helping your mom or your dad? I mean, Maron, how much time you got on your hands? You know, one thing I learned is people look to try to create chaos. They try to, and then they want to complain. They're confused how they're in the chaos. They'll light these fuses and then they'll be like, oh, but what did I do? Like, I just find that whole dynamic very funny. You get the people, I don't want to be in the drama, but they're on podcasts every day. Or I don't want to fight with people, but they're fighting with people every day. It's very easy. You don't want to be in it, don't be in it. I was never here to engage the nonsense, get involved in the nonsense, and I never did. I tried to just do my show based on the conduct, the information, I should say, the content that I wanted to put out. And that was it. I would go on certain shows where I enjoyed the topic and I wanted to talk about the topic. And then after a while, I saw that was not for me because I saw the type of people that were in those shows and the type of friends that they had. And listen, they probably think the same of me. They probably want nothing to do with me and vice versa. That's just how it goes. Different people. As time goes by, you know who's who and what's what. But one thing I will say, the people I have engaged with, the friendships I've made on YouTube, I've never had any situations where we weren't friends no more and we're abusing each other, we're knocking each other. It's crazy. And the ones that I have a nice YouTube, social media, whatever you want to call it, relationship, we still have it. And then there was one or two that I actually made real life friends out of that I'm grateful for. I didn't even expect that. But, you know, individuals where we sit down, have a cup of coffee, enjoy one another's company, laugh a little bit. I was surprised by that. That was a welcome addition. Especially for me. I have my same friends since I'm a kid, and that's just fine with me. So it was nice to meet one or two people on a different level like that. I enjoyed it, and I'm grateful for it. And I just want to really close out by saying I thank all of you, every listener from day one who listened to my shows, gave me positive feedback, told me what they liked about the show, explained to me how the show changed the way they're thinking. That was always huge for me. I had many listeners that would tell me that they would listen to the Informants podcast before I came around and pretty much believe everything they said. And then when I came around, they had a different outlook on it. And those I always appreciate. When people could open their eyes up, I always appreciate those type of things. And I think that's it, folks. I think that's all I really wanted to say in closing out. I just wanted to tell everybody who supported the show, I appreciate you, and I always appreciate you, and I continue to. And whether you were a past supporter, no longer a supporter, current supporter, it's all very much appreciated because you help just get the word out. You help bring attention to it, and you help get people to the website, and that's appreciated more than you realize. And I'm going to probably be doing a in-depth outline about my father's case, a little more in depth about how it played out, and I'll probably put that out. I may hire like a ghostwriter, and I'll tell them everything I kind of want to cover in that, just to explain what took place. So I'll probably do something like that in the future as well, just to bring attention to it. I think it's important just the public to see how things really play out, and how even though you think the law applies, and if you have the law on your side, you're going to win, that doesn't work out that way. Doesn't work out that way. So, and the funny part is, you know, I really got so involved with the legal world based on my old man. That's not my background. And I'm an entrepreneur. I own a insurance company. I own a payroll company. I'm actually going to be opening up a hobby shop, card store with a friend of mine. So I've always been an entrepreneur. When that situation arose with my dad, I was already doing a lot of actually e-discovery with clients of mine who I did payroll for, because I do a lot of payroll for law firms, and they would come to me and say, Dom, I know you're tech savvy. We can't get the discovery off the hard drives. So I was like, yeah, give it to me, and I was able to do that, no problem. And then when the situation happened with my father, I went to Pace law school, and I got a paralegal certification. And honestly, all that was just to educate myself, because again, I didn't know the legal world. I didn't know how things worked, processes, and you just got to be aware of that. But to be honest, the legal industry is something I want nothing to do with, zero to do with, to be honest with you. I've seen too much BS. I've seen too many lawyers who bullshit. One of the lawyers that I fired, because I saw he didn't know what the hell he was doing, I see him go on a podcast with two rats, okay? So right then and there, I knew I made the decision. But that just showed me, you had to hear this lawyer talking before that show, how he hated this one, he's over for the defendant, then he's on a show with two rats. So that summed up everything for me. And the truth is, I could probably count on one hand the attorneys that are true attorneys and truly care about the defendants. And that's a big turnoff to me. It's not an industry for me. It's just not. So I'm probably not even going to go, I'm always going to help people I know, friends, family, things like that. I'm always going to help. But as far as pursuing that avenue, nah, I'm going to stick with my core businesses that have got me where I am today, and I'm good. Unfortunately, I gave it my all. I gave it the best shot I could to try to really enhance the appeal. Obviously, I'm not the attorney. It was all in their hands. But to support them, I did the best I could to support, I should say, and to try to make things easier so they could really focus on what they needed to focus on. And even with the clients I have now, I pretty much, last week I gave them all the speech that when I close out, I'm pretty much closing out. And they were all shocked. People don't get it, but the truth is, if you don't care about something, and when you get disheartened and you get turned off, it doesn't matter if you make some money from it. For me, anyway, it just doesn't matter. That's not my focus anyway. That's not my bread and butter. I did that, as I said, to just try to do the best I can to support my father's legal team. Because I'm not a lawyer. I can't argue. I can't do anything. So I said, what can I do to help this situation? And that's what I was able to do. The discovery, the support aspect of it, bringing in the experts, transcripts, all that kind of stuff. That's a major relief for the attorneys. They have to waste countless hours doing that stuff. So if somebody could do it for them, it does streamline the process. Even my current clients, they all tell me the amount of time I save them, the amount of resources I save them. So it is a good industry. It's just not for me. I don't want to be around it, especially after this decision. It's not worth it for me. I just see you could prove everything till the cows come home. But the bottom line is, if they have a bias against you and in their head you're guilty whether you did it or not, you're just not winning. Those are the cold, hard facts. And the other thing I wanted to touch on, it's funny, you always hear these people talking about, I seen comments where I glorify gangsters, and you show me one episode where I glorified anything. Are you a moron? I don't even talk about that stupid shit. I don't even go down that dumb friggin' road. It's not what it's about. All I'm telling you guys to do is focus on the law. That's all I've always been saying. I don't remember glorifying any of that bullshit. I don't even talk about that nonsense. It's all the other people that talk about it and are fascinated by it that I find amusing, because they're trying to say that I glorify something. No, that's not the case. And the type of person I am, I don't care who thinks my father's a good guy, who thinks he's a bad guy. I don't care. I'm very proud to be my father's son. I love my father dearly. He's a great father, he's a great husband, great grandfather. So the opinion of the public on that matter means zero to me. And that's why I laugh too when you get these people, they try to say oh, these guys, if they're labeled supposedly organized crime, they shook their neighborhood down, they do this, they abused people, they extorted their neighborhood. And I'll tell you why I find that funny. While all this was going on, So many people from my father's neighborhood messaged me, emailed me, wanted to come to court, called me, wrote my father's letters. So now you're telling me if this guy supposedly abused all these people in his heyday, why would they come now when he's not even here, he's in jail, to support him, to show up to court, to try to help in any way? I had people tell me, oh, we'll send money on the commissary. Thankfully, I'm in a position we don't need any help with anything like that. It's greatly appreciated. Can't thank you enough, but we don't need help with anything like that. But my point just is, if these were people getting shaken down, getting extorted, getting abused, why would they come out in droves? Do you know how many people wanted to come to the courthouse and my father told him not to because he's not into that? Forget it. They wanted to pack the courthouse and he wouldn't. He told me, no, tell him I appreciate it, but I don't want that. You know, he's just not into that kind of stuff. But again, that's my question. If these are all these individuals who got so abused in these neighborhoods, why would they come, I don't know, 30 years later to show such a level of support that was actually humbling? I mean, coming out of the woodwork, shop owners, restaurant owners calling me, contacting me. A few times I go down there to where he grew up, nothing but kind words to say, words of encouragement, words of support. So I find that funny. They should get their facts in order. Now, am I saying no person ever did things like that? I have no idea, but I'm talking about my old man. My old man wasn't like that, okay? He didn't do things like that. And like I said, the proof is in the pudding, okay? The proof is in the pudding. It was humbling. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to get too deep, but it was very humbling at the things I've witnessed and experienced from people I didn't even know that know my dad, that came out to try to help in any which way they can, putting themselves out there. Truly tremendous. And even a lot of you supporters, I can't say it enough. The nice comments, people trying to help, people saying that they're going to try to bring attention to it, talk about it. Absolutely tremendous, folks. I didn't expect any of that from anybody. Absolutely tremendous. And I thank you sincerely. I truly do. And as the informants come up, I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm going to keep putting up what I can. I have a lot of information on most of the guys that are on YouTube now. There's one or two that I'm not familiar with, but I reached out, I made some calls, and I'm supposedly getting information on them. And little by little, I'll keep putting it up. And for those, again, who keep bringing me up, saying I pay people, okay, show some proof. It's been 5 years, for God's sake. Show 1 ounce of proof that I told anybody, asked anybody, paid anybody to do or say one thing. Here's the reality, folks. None of these content creators that are saying all this nonsense are important to me on any level. So I don't care if they abuse me, don't abuse me. I don't care if they get abused, don't get abused. I'm not that vested in trying to mess with them or torment them in a humorous way. I don't care. It's irrelevant to me. Well, whether they make 10 million on YouTube, whether they make $5 on YouTube, it's all irrelevant to me. They have no place in my life at all. I have a very fulfilling life. I have a beautiful family. I worked hard and gave myself a beautiful life. So the last thing I'm worried about is opinions of YouTubers. The only opinions I ever cared about from when I was young to now are the opinions of people I care about. My family and my friends. That's it. If it's not for them, I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, that's just how it goes. And the truth is, those who know me know what I'm about. Those who don't. And I don't want them to. They could think I'm a degenerate. They could think I'm a racist. They could think I'm a Nazi. They could think I'm a Nazi sympathizer. I don't care. Scream at it till I don't know, till you lose your voice, I guess. It doesn't matter to me. You could do a show every day about it. It's irrelevant to me. The opinions of others are irrelevant to me. I couldn't care if they said I was the biggest racist, bigot, lowlife, degenerate. Great. Okay, now what? Now what? Again, like I said, on the internet, mindless opinions. What boggles my mind is so many of these people feel so passionately about it, but yet they never come vent it directly. If I was ever that passionate about something, that worked up, I would have to deal with it directly. So I'll never understand that. It just goes to show me they're just blowing hot air and they're doing it for clicks and views. And that's neither here nor there. That's my rant on that end. So that's it, folks. I really enjoyed the time I was here. I'll try, even though I said there's a closeout. Oh, one thing I am going to do, and this is very important. Any family members, anybody who was affected by these lying informants, I will always open the show for you. For example, I have an attorney who asked me if I would do a show with him. He wants to talk about his client. That I'll do. Anything like that, I'm still going to do. It's just I'm not going to do shows like this where it's just me talking. I'll always keep my platforms open for the family members, for the defendants, for the lawyers, anybody impacted by the system and by the lying informants. I'll always put out shows on that. And I will visit my friend Joey on his show. Be sure you turn into The Skinny with Joey Merlino. It's a great show. That's all I could say. And I'm sure you all know about it because he's got a lot of subscribers. So that's it, folks. I wish everybody the best. And again, I thank everybody who's been with me. I thank everybody for the support. I thank all the creators who continue to put out We Push Back stuff. It's great. And all I'm going to keep doing is focusing on my small little part with the website and just getting it to where I want it to be and continuously populating it. All the best, folks. Take care.